Hello listeners and viewers, welcome to Kaduna State Ministry of Education Radio and TV e-learning program designed for our SS3 and other students staying at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. The present administration under the able leadership of His Excellency, Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, is positioned as always to ensure that under his leadership, our students are not left behind in all areas of human endeavors, especially education. Kaduna State is the center of learning. Therefore, we want to ensure that our students excel in their forthcoming examinations and beyond. Students and other learners at home are given this opportunity in order to continue learning, as education is a continuous process. Different subjects will be taught in this program to assist students to perform excellently in the forthcoming Senior School Certificate examination being conducted by NECO and WAEC as soon as schools reopen. Teachers making presentations will always provide their names and phone numbers during each presentation, and they can be contacted for questions, further explanations, and/or clarifications. The following numbers and contacts can also be reached for expression of any concern or observation: 090-865-00545 or 080-383-62072. Our website is www.education.kdsg.gov.ng. Our email education@kdsg.gov.ng or education.kdsg@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Our Twitter handle @Kaduna_MOE. Or our Facebook page, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Stay safe, stay at home, and learn well. Thank you, happy listening, and happy viewing.
Good morning, students. You are welcome to another segment of e-learning. My subject today is biology. I am your biology teacher, Mariam Ahmed Gidado. And our topic for today is going to be germination of seed. What is germination, class? Or do we mean by germination, my students? When we say germination of seed, it is defined as the process which involves the gradual development of the embryo of a seed to become a young plant or a young seedling. I will take it again. The process by which an embryo of a seed develop and grow into a new plant or a young seedling. That process is known as germination of seed. In another word, you can also define germination as the series of changes that takes place in an embryo of a seed to reach a young plant or to become a young seedling. Those changes that take place in the embryo, the process of those changes is what we mean by germination of seed. So what is the process of germination of seed, or what happened to seed when a seed is germinated? What are those processes that takes place during the process of germination of a seed? So seeds go into a period we call dormancy period. What is dormancy period? Dormancy period is a rest period for the seed. What we mean by a rest period is if you have seeds, maybe you have planted maize or beans. After harvesting your maize or after harvesting your seeds, you take them to your house, put them in sacks or put them in any container you wish to and store them. So as far as those seeds are inside the container or inside the sacks, they are not germinating. So that period during which the seed is not germinating, there is no any activity, that period is called a dormancy period. It is also called a rest period. It's just like if you are sleeping. You are not dead, you are alive, but many of your activities have been ceased. You are not active at that time, but that doesn't mean you are dead because you are respiring, your blood circulation is going on, meaning your heart is beating. If you have eaten food, digestive process is on. Many activities inside you are going on, but outside, some people will look at you just sleeping or resting. There is no any visible activity you are doing. So when the seed is not having any activity, that seed is in the dormancy period, but that doesn't mean the seed is dead. So immediately that seed comes in contact with a good soil and other conditions necessary for germination, the seed starts to germinate. So when the seed starts to germinate, that period is known as an activity period, no more a dormancy period, meaning the dormancy has been broken. So immediately seed comes in contact with water or moisture. Remember, when you have seed in your room, if that seed is going to spend 100 years in your room, it's not going to germinate because conditions necessary for germination are not present. But immediately you pick the seed, you decide to put it under the soil. Maybe you just dig a hole, put it, cover the soil, and there is moisture. It doesn't have to be much water, but moisture. So immediately moisture comes in contact with the seed, the cell activity of the seed starts to manifest. So dormancy is broken down when the seed comes in contact with water. The seed absorbs water. When it absorbs water, the enzymes in the seed now become active. The enzymes break insoluble food into soluble. So when the seed now receives water and there is now food, so the seed now starts to have activity. It starts to germinate. The first structure that appears when the seed starts to germinate is radicle and plumule. The radicle is the one that goes into the soil in search of water. You know, the first priority of seed is water. So the first structure that will start to grow is the radicle. So the radicle will grow downward to form the root of the plant. And when root gets into the soil, the first thing it does is to absorb water for the growing plant. Then another structure will come out, that is the plumule. But when the plumule germinates out, it grows upward. And when it grows upward, it now starts to form the shoot system. That is where the leaves will come out. And immediately, you know, when the leaves come out, the plant starts to photosynthesize. I will take it again. When seed absorbs water, enzymes become activated, that is, the seed is hydrated. Insoluble food becomes soluble, so activities resume. And structures start to germinate. And the first structure I said is radicle. Radicle go into the soil to form the root system to absorb water. Then the plumule go up, push the soil, comes out to form the shoot system. So this is simply how the germination process starts. Let's look at types of germination. There are two types of germination, namely Epidural Germination and Hypogel Germination. I will repeat myself. We have two types of germination, Epidural Germination and Hypogel germination. So let's look at it one after the other. What is Hypogeal germination? Hypogeal germination is that type of germination in which the cotyledon of the seed is carried above the soil. The cotyledon of the seed is carried above the soil. That is, when you plant the seed, when the seed is germinating, it carries the cotyledon above the soil. This type of germination is found in cowpea, that is the group of beans, granite, melon, mango, etc., etc. For those of you that go to the farm, if you plant beans, after some days when it starts to germinate, you notice that there is the bean seedling, the bean seed will be carried above as if the plant is backing the seed. It will come out together with the bean seed. That is what you mean by cotyledon. Then the two seed leaves will appear, but it will be carrying the beans. That is what you mean by Hypogeal germination. Then the next one is Hypogeal germination. Or let's look at example of Hypogeal germination in bean seedling before Hypogeal germination. Hypogeal germination in cowpea, what happened? When the seed is placed in the soil, it absorbs water and swells up. That is when you decide to plant beans. The moment you put it in the soil, it absorbs water and it swells up. You know how beans swells water up? When you want to wash beans, you put the beans in water, you see that the water has become big, meaning it has absorbed water. So that is what happened to the beans when it is placed inside the soil. It absorbs the surrounding water, it swells up. So that swelling up softens the beans. If you are going to wash beans, when you soak it, it becomes soft. You wash it easy. So it is softened under the soil. So when it's soft, the beans opened. That is, it burst. You know, beans, we have two parts. So when it soaks water, the moment you touch it, it separates into two. So that is what we mean. It splits. The tester or seed coat bursts open or splits. That is, the two parts of the beans open. So when it opens, what happens? The radicle grows downward into the soil. I told you there are two structures in the seed, the radicle and the plumule. So when it absorbs water, it becomes softened, it bursts, then those two structures come out. The radicle goes downward to form the root, while the plumule goes up to form the shoot system. So as the seed absorbs more water, enzymes become active, increasing the rate of respiration as well as the growth of seed. So these are the activities that takes place as far as the bean is concerned before it becomes a seedling of the bean. So now let's look at Hypogeal germination. What is Hypogeal germination? In the other hand, we say when you plant the bean seed, it carries the cotyledon up. In Hypogeal, example is maize. When you plant maize, when it is germinating, it doesn't come out with the maize seed. It is only the seedling that will push the soil and come out, but the seed will remain inside the soil. So when a cotyledon remains inside the soil or underneath the soil, that type of germination is known as Hypogeal germination. It is common in monocotyledonous plants such as maize, oil palm, guinea corn, millet, wheat, rice, and the rest. When you plant them, when they are germinating, they don't come out with the seed leaf. So let's look at example of Hypogeal germination in maize. When you place a maize seedling in the soil, it absorbs water just like the beans. When it absorbs water, it swells up. The tester or the seed coat, what do you mean by tester or seed coat? The covering of the seed. What is covering the seed is what is known as the tester. So it absorbs water. When it absorbs water, it splits. That it opens. So when it opens, that is when the radicle and the plumule will find their way out. So when the plumule comes out, it goes into the soil in search of water. Then when the plumule comes out, it goes up to go and form the seedling by producing the leaves. And when the leaves are out, the plant starts to photosynthesize. And that is how a maize seed germinates to form a new plant. So now let's look at conditions necessary for germination. The conditions that are necessary for the germination are water or moisture. We have air or oxygen. Then warmth or suitable temperature. Enzymes, food, and viable seed. So let's take one after the other to explain. Water or moisture. What we mean is, as I said, when you keep seed in your store, inside a sack or any container, as long as that seed is there, it's not going to germinate because there is no moisture or there is no water. So that shows to you that water is very necessary. But immediately it is rainy season, you decide to bring out the seed from the store, open the soil or dig the soil, put the seed, water it absorbs water and it starts to germinate. So that shows to you that water or moisture is very necessary for germination to take place. Without water, you just keep seed like that without watering, it will not germinate. So water is one of the conditions. Then air or oxygen. The oxygen we breathe in. All living things respirate. And when you are respiring, what are you taking? You are taking in oxygen. So the seed is a living organism. When it is placed inside the soil, there has to be air or oxygen in that soil before the seed can germinate. So oxygen is very necessary. If you can remember when I was explaining the structure of the seed, there is a structure which we say it is an opening which allows air to go in. So that opening allows oxygen to go in so that the oxygen can circulate, respirate, and make the seed active, then it starts to germinate. So air or oxygen is very necessary for germination. Then we have warm or suitable temperature. Temperature is the degree of coldness or hotness of a particular medium or a particular weather. So temperature is very necessary. Temperature, if it is high, it destroys some seeds. If it is too low, it destroys some seeds. So there is a certain temperature range which all seeds germinate. What we mean is, now if you are planting your crops, if you plant crops and keep them inside the room, they are not going to germinate because there is no temperature. That temperature that is coming from the sun or light that is coming from the sun, which gives the seed maximum temperature to grow, is not inside your room. So if you keep it inside your room, one, you are starving it from sunlight and you are starving it from temperature. So the plant might not germinate well. So temperature or warmth is one of the conditions necessary for all living organisms to perform well. Then we have enzymes. Enzymes are organic catalysts that speed up chemical reaction in the body of organism. So enzymes act on a specific reaction. Enzymes for respiration is different from the enzyme for digestive system, different from enzymes for this. So what we mean is there are enzymes in every seed. When seed absorbs water, as I said, it becomes hydrated. When it is hydrated, the enzymes that are inside the seed become now activated. So they now convert insoluble food to soluble, which shows to us that enzyme is very necessary for germination to take place. Then we have food. My students, you know the importance of food. Without food, living organism might not survive because food is very, very necessary. We have nutrition as one of the characteristics of living thing, that is taking in nutrients. So when there is no food around the seed will not germinate properly. So food is stored in the cotyledon of the seed. If you can remember when I was explaining structure of the seed, we said we have cotyledon, we have endosperm, where food is stored or is reserved. So because the seed, when it is germinating, or the embryo that is germinating requires that food. That is why the food is stored in the endosperm or in the cotyledon. So when food is reserved there, the seed uses the food to germinate, which shows to us that food is very important. My student, you all know it. You yourself as a human being, if you are not taking in food properly, you know your growth is not going to be okay. So food is very necessary for seed germination. Then viable seeds. What do you mean by viable seed? Viable seed means a healthy seed. When you have seed in your store, maybe you have allowed insects to go into your seed, Like beans now, if you keep beans and maize in the store, you find out that there are smaller insects that go into the bean or the maize. So if you take a bean seedling, a bean seed that has a hole, then you decide to go and plant it, it will not germinate. You need a healthy seed for germination. So that healthy seed that when you put in the soil is going to germinate to become a new plant, that is what you mean by a viable seed. My student, you cannot go and cook beans. Then you take one of the beans, then you go and start planting it that you want a beans. No, because you have destroyed, it's not viable. You cannot pound a seed like beans. You pound it, break it into pieces, then you take one piece and say you are going to plant it. It's not viable. For seed to germinate, it has to be a healthy seed without any hole, without any insect. Nothing is happening to the seed. So that is when the seed is going to germinate. So that is what you mean by viable seed. So if you go to the farm, you plant your seed and the seed has not germinated, there are factors which you are going to look at. Maybe viability of the seed. If all conditions are available, there is temperature, oxygen, water, food, all the conditions necessary for germination are there, but the seed is not germinated. Definitely something is wrong with the seed. Maybe it is not viable. So for you to grow seed, you have to get a healthy seed. So my students, before I go, I want to give you an activity which you are going to, I'm going to leave a number, you text it, or maybe before the next lesson, I want your responses. It is an activity as an assignment again. What you to do is get 2 tins. When you get 2 tins, or maybe a sachet, pure water sachet, when you get them, fill them with sand, soil, and you know, you have to get a good soil. We have sandy soil, we have loamy soil, we have clay soil and other soil. Get loamy soil, that is the one that is good for planting. Get it from your farm, not sandy soil, Yashi, no, the loamy soil. When you get it, when you get the tin, perforate the tin. That is, use nail to make holes on the tin. That is the bottom of the tin. Make holes. Then fill it with soil. When you fill it with soil, get 2 seeds of beans. Put them in tin A. Then get 2 seeds of maize. Put them in tin B. Then water them. When you water them, you place them where they will get sun, not in your room. Place them outside where they will get sun. So when you place them outside, be watering them every day. Be watering them every day. So after 5 or 7 days, the seed will start to germinate. So observe how the seed in both things germinate. I want you to get a difference between hypogeal, which one will come out, which one will not. Then what's the difference? What difference do you observe in the way the seed germinates? Make a label drawings of the germinating seedling in both things. I will repeat again. When you plant the 2 seeds in the 2 tins, tin A, 2 beans, tin B, 2 maize seedling. Observe the way they water them every day, morning and night. Place them where they can get sun. After about 5 or 7 days, these seeds, if they are good seeds, make sure they are good. There is no hole, no breakage on the seed, a very good seed. Plant 2. Before you know it, after 5 or 7 days, they will start to germinate. So when they start to germinate, look at it. Which one is carrying the seed out? Which one is not carrying? Write your observation. What is the difference between tin A and tin B? Make a label diagram of the germinating seedling. So when we meet in the next lesson, or before we meet in the next lesson, I will be waiting for your responses. For reference purposes, I have 2 books for you. Michael MC, Essentials of Biology, then my Modern Biology for Secondary School by Sarah Joni. You can contact these books as far as this topic is concerned if there is anything you don't understand. But for more clarification, questions, you can call this number 070-3158-6058. I will repeat my number, 070-3158-6058. I will be waiting for your observation, questions, and other things. Lockdown is better than knockdown. Face mask is better than intensive care. So prevention is better than care. Stay at home, stay safe, and continue learning. Thank you very much.